where did you study? Where did you do your training, your first training as a pilot? Was it Oxford Aviation Academy?
Yeah, so I did start off with the pilot private license in Kenya first.
Okay.
That was in Kenya School of Flying.
Okay.
That was for the PPL. For the second, which was to advance on to the commercial license, was at Oxford Aviation.
Okay.
A very unique opportunity. This is because it was a multi-pilot program where it would combine an ATPL, it will combine a multi-crew resource, and it was geared to put you towards an airline environment.
Okay. Just for the audience, what's an ATPL?
This is the airline transport pilot license.
Okay.
So what happens with the way the order of the licenses goes, you'll start with your private pilot license. You'll go into a commercial pilot license, which is obviously you're building hours, and then obviously you'll go into complex aircraft. And then from complex aircraft, you'll go to multi-engine aircraft.
Okay.
Then from there, you'll be able to get a license to be then commercial, which can give you an opportunity to get employment.
Okay.
Then further to that, when you go into heavier aircraft, you'll need to have an airline transport pilot license.
Okay.
So what Oxford would do was give you all of those right at the beginning and then be able to have a hybrid program because it was a course designed to accelerate you through into the airline.
Into an airline. Okay, that's great. And I guess there wasn't anyone doing a similar thing here. You'd have to do those in different locations if you stayed in
that is right. Yeah. Okay. So those were set up, possibly that one and maybe some other schools in Europe, but it was not as popular because it was geared towards maybe airlines would sponsor their students and their cadets to be able to then join. So in that way, they would have a steady stream.
Okay.
Something very similar to an ab initio program.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the ab initio program is where they'll train you from the beginning.
Right from the beginning and just get you to the starting stage, but not to the ATPL level.
Okay.
That was there.
So is Oxford Aviation Academy in Oxford?
Yeah.
Or is it in the, because sometimes you find a lot of, especially like in the US, there's a lot of places that have similar names to England.
That is right, yes.
Oxford, okay.
Yeah, so it's in Oxford. It's in a town called Kidlington, just next to, a few miles from one of the bases called Bryce Norton.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And thereafter you went to Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but the story around that is, it's interesting because when you go to this multi-pilot program, you completed with 165 and I think 0.5 hours. And remember the figure was quite exact. But those hours were not enough to secure or to get licensed with a Kenyan license.
Right.
So when you come back here, you'd need to have hour building. When we were in the UK, we also did some fair weather flying in the US. So this then brought the opportunity saying, okay, fine, if you do have a shortfall of the hours, which you needed to do either way to be issued with a Kenyan license, why don't you go to America where it is slightly cheaper, build up your hours, and then that way you'd end up with two. Okay. So it was, I mean, out of us going to Oxford first to end up then going to America to do the hours.
Okay.
So eventually what happens, you ended up with 2 licenses.
Interesting. So that's counterintuitive to what many people might have thought, that it was cheaper to build your hours up in the US than it was to come back to Kenya and build them here. I guess this has to do with more general aviation and aviation schools in the US. Okay. How many hours do you need to convert into a Kenyan license? Just as a minimum.
Yeah. At the time I was doing it was 250 hours.
Okay.
So you could tell there's a shortfall of about 100 hours. Right now it is, if I'm not wrong, it's about 200 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so the program over time has been developed, and I think they're able to see different stages, into the commercial license.
Okay. And you did a flight safety certification when in the US, or was that also a part of the program?
So the school that I went to was that was flight safety. And actually that was something that, that's the first time I went to flight safety. It has been a journey with them throughout my career with them.
Throughout your career.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. What would you say would you say that there's a difference in the training that you might get in the US versus the training that you might get in the UK? What would you say? Are they different? Are they largely the same? Is it the same skills that are being taught, or are they taught in a different way?
Yeah. So I think by and large, the in the UK and in the US, or possibly I'd say maybe Europe, and versus maybe the American schools was, the ones who had done more flying and possibly have more schools is obviously in the US. The course that is designed in Oxford at that time was clearly directed towards an airline. So you'd find most of the cadets we had were from British Airways and some of even Air Force cadets from some of the Northern African countries.
Okay.
So it was very targeted and a very niche sort of target. So, and you'd find, just to add also, the school had a lot of ex-military, ex-Royal Air Force pilots.
Right.
So it's slightly regimental around how it was being done. That this is what you do, would always have to be in uniform, so and so forth. And it set possibly, the tone around how this is the airline, this is how a pilot is supposed to be.
Okay.
Similarly, there are schools in the US who have the same thing.
Right.
Slightly less, slightly more. But I do feel that, I think most of the pilots that I've known probably in our generation did study in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think everyone, when eventually you do get your license and where you're placed, yes, it does set you there. But yeah.
Okay. How long were you in Oxford? How long to get the extra hours in the US before you came home?
So that was 1 year. 1 year in the UK and 1 year in the US.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then you came home and you have to go through conversion. Talk to us about that process and what it was like.
So I remember leaving there right immediately. I think I did my exam on a Thursday. On Friday, I left.
Okay.
The conversion was not as difficult because what happened is now if you have an ATPL,
right,
now you ended up doing what I'll just call an airlaw exam.
Oh, so you're further along in the process because they're geared you more towards an airline.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're further along. Again, as I would say, I remember coming with what I'll call a digital logbook at that time, which at that time, it was fairly new to everyone and say, okay, fine, what is this? How to get it certified? So the journey was more around, okay, fine, where did you do the hours here? Where did you do the hours here? And then being able to say which is the valid one.
Okay.
But the conversion, yes, it has improved over time. We would do a composite paper. Right now, I believe that you have to do, I think, 8 papers or so. So
wow.
It has become slightly more challenging, but more aligned with possibly with the industry.
Yep.